So something we've never really looked at yet is cleaning inside these wheel arches. Of all the times that we have had the wheel off for different purposes, we've never actually cleaned inside it. And a few people have said before about the state of some of the components in there and that they'd like to see it really cleaned up. So I thought we'd do a quick video today just showing cleaning inside there, taking the wheel arch out so that we can give that a real good scrub down and cleaning some of them components just to make it nice and crystally sparkly inside. And now with the car up in the air, we've got the wheel off and we can really get in there and look to see where these fixings are for this wheel arch liner. There's obviously the ones we know about from when we've taken the front bumper off before. So we've got these 4 Phillips screws, this T30 up here. We've got a few more Phillips screws as well, just running down here and here. Up and over the top, don't think there's anything too much there. Coming down this side, we've got a Phillips screw here, we've got a Phillips screw here, and we've got another one just around here. I don't think there's anything up here. So I'll get some tools out and get all those fixings off. So with all those fixings out, I think now that plastic wheel liner, or wheel arch liner rather, should be good to come out. So straight away, there's one more fixing actually, just underneath here. So we're just going to go underneath and just get that 1, 2, 30 fixing off there. So with that fixing now off, let's have another go and see if we can just remove this whole thing. So it feels very much like just around this whole lip here, where there is a little recess, but the actual plastic tucks in behind it. Okay, great, so that came out okay in the end. What it actually felt like more was, it was easier to pull it from this point here and kind of pull it down so it fell out that way. And then just as it come round, obviously, yeah, just pull it on that side. And it comes out really easy, nothing technical to it whatsoever. So now with it off like that, we can really see how dirty it is, how much dirt is in there, all the mud splattered up and all the grit and everything. So what we're gonna do is just get a bucket and sponge, some soapy water, just really give it a real good clean up, and then what we're going to do is actually give it a lining with some kind of treatment, panel treatment stuff, like back to black sort of stuff. Obviously we don't want to use oily stuff because we don't just want them grit sticking to it the whole time every time we go through a puddle or anything like that. So having soaked that and washed it with the soapy water, it's really tarry inside. It's all lumpy and bumpy. There's so much grit and gravel and kind of tar that's just splotted onto it. So it'd probably be really worth actually claying the inside of it. Okay, so I've given it a really good superficial going over with the clay bar. I think the end result is, obviously, as you can see, just a contaminated mess. It is absolute state. But you know, that's exactly what it's for. That's what the purpose of this wheel arch is, to collect it. It's made of plastic, so it's not going to chip, it's not going to corrode, it's not going to end up going rusty or anything like that. So it's doing its job. But a lot happier now, having taken all that out of it, that it's a lot cleaner. So I've just gone back over it with a soapy sponge. So I'll let this dry off, we'll give it a wipe down with a tea towel, and then we'll put some of this back to black stuff on it, and then we can look at some of the components in the wheel arch. Okay, so that's all dry now, obviously looking a whole lot cleaner already. So what I'm going to do, like I said earlier, I'm just going to use some of this black and trim or tire and trim stuff, back to black wet look tire and trim. So it's non-greasy, this one, so like I say, it shouldn't allow stuff to stick to it. So what we're going to do this time, we're just going to spray it straight on. Just got our cloth that we'll just then use to rub it in. So let's see how it goes. So obviously we can see it drying out in the sun, but I think, you know, it's going to give a much nicer polish. It's just going to take off the last elements of those bits of dirt that we've got. So I'll just finish off this, get this all done, and then we'll get back in the wheel arch. All we're going to do is just take one element at a time. We're just going to pick one thing, look to clean that, and then we'll do the next thing. So we're going to do everything, completely the lot that we can see. We've got the back of the airbox that we've not seen yet. Obviously from when we did the air filter, we did all the front bumper. We've never actually got to the back of it, so it's a great opportunity to clean that. So I think we'll start here. So because this is covered in oil, I think the best thing for it, like we've used before on some of the other elements, is going to be a bit of brake cleaner. We've got some cobwebs and stuff as well that we can just wipe out. And what I've done, if you can see down below, like I've done before previously when we did the oil, just put a cardboard box like an old fruit box from the supermarket down. Hopefully then what we're going to do, just when we spray the brake cleaner on it, where it's dripping off, it's just going to be catched, or caught rather, into the cardboard box just to protect the driveway. So some of you may be wondering, why is there oil on my airbox? For those of you that haven't watched it already, we did a video previously, why is my math oily, or why is my math covered in oil, I think it was. So if you've not seen it, check out the channel and you can see it on there and what we did to fix that as well. For a component or an element or whatever you want to call it, that's never really going to get seen anyway, unless we're driving around without the wheel arches in, then I'm pretty happy with that. It's clean enough now, you know, it's come up pretty well. It's just a bit of moisture left in there. I went over it with a bucket and sponge as well, so we've gone all the way from the top all the way down, so that's a lot cleaner. So next up, I think we'll do probably this plastic panel again here. Maybe we just take the bucket and sponge to it just to give that a wipe over. I know obviously we did it the other week when we did the front springs as well. So with that element a bit cleaner now already, what I think we'll do next, we just come up to the top and we just have a clean through up at the top. There's lots of dust and debris up here, so we'll just give that a wipe down just to get some of those elements out. Obviously the liner's going to come back over here and clean that up, but I want to be happy that once I put it back, the stuff behind it is really clean as well. And what we'll do as well, we'll just have a look down here, just make sure that some of these seams, some of these edges are okay, not open to rust or anything like that. What I'm going to do now is just give this a good wash on the inside, just with soapy water, bucket and sponge again, just to give it a good rinse out, just to get all the dust up and around it, and then just dry it off so that that's ready for that wheel arch line to go back in later on. And then what I'll do is just carry on with a bucket and sponge just around the inside of the wheel arch, just on these bodywork parts, just to make sure that they're as clean as they can be as well. Okay, so with the main elements of the body, the actual body panel in itself, nicely cleaned up. What I've done obviously to get a bit more access is just remove some of these hoses just from their mounts, just where they clip in. I think just brake wear indicator and the ABS sensor as well. So we just moved them out of the way just so we can get the sponge right behind there, and just obviously right behind the shock here as well, just so that's all nice and tidy. So now what I'm going to do, I think just continuing from the top down, just go back over the new spring that we put in the other week and just come down and do the shock as well. And then what I'm going to do is just one component at a time. So we'll do a cable, we'll do another cable, we'll do the brake hoses, we'll come around the front here, we'll do this, then we'll kind of maybe come along, do some of these truck rod ends, the anti-roll bar, bits and pieces, and then hopefully we'll see what's left, and then we can look to start getting it back together. Okay, brilliant. So with all of that cleaned down now, everything's kind of had a good soak and everything's all a bit wet. So it's a much cleaner, it's a whole lot cleaner than it was. So I think realistically now what I'm going to do is just get some of that panel cleaner stuff that we were saying about that we're going to use, and maybe we'll just give it a nice gloss up. Hopefully, you know, it'll protect the springs a bit longer. I think this strut maybe, you know, it's a little bit beyond its best ability, shall we say. Maybe while it was off the other week we could have considered giving it a rub down then perhaps, but for now, what we'll do, we'll just treat what we've got there with some of this spray. Some of the other elements, I think some of the hoses and stuff, we'll go for them as well. Obviously just washing the electrical connections, make sure we're not going to compromise anything, but we'll just give it a nice real good polish up, I think, with those points in there. We're going to be doing the brakes soon anyway. So in terms of cleaning up all the hub and everything here, the calipers, we've got plans to spray these, so these are going to be these will be going red soon. Hopefully in a few weeks we're going to be taking them off, completely renewing them, treating them, cleaning them, spraying them, and getting them back up to something that's resembling a nicer looking car, shall we say. And then maybe in due course what we might do is actually change the shocks as well. But for now, what we're going to start to do is start putting this back together, get some of that moisturising kind of polishing trim and panel spray onto it, and then yeah, hopefully we can start to look at some results. That's looking a whole lot cleaner in there now, so much happy with it. You know, the hoses are nice and clean and shiny. You can see exactly what's what, where it goes. So for an MOT inspector looking under there, apart from myself and you know yourself if you do yours, it'd give the impression that you really care about your car. Obviously it's a Giulietta, so we do care about our cars, so I'm much happier with that. So next step is to really get this wheel arch lining back in. So I don't know if there's a good way to do this or not. I'm guessing basically we're just going to offer it in, try and get this kind of this seam, this lip up the top in, and then yeah, hopefully just manipulate the rest of it in. So let's give it a go. Right, okay, so I'll finish that off. Obviously we can see some of the hoses and stuff here where it just needs to clear them a bit better. Just make sure that it's in properly, and then I'll get the fixings back in. So I'll get that done and then I'll come back to you. And then obviously, because we've been playing around the brakes, we'll just give them a good clean up. Okay, so it's looking a whole lot better in there now. Really pleased with it. It's looking so clean. It's really looking really good. I think, you know, a couple of bits that I'm not too happy about, maybe the shock that we can see there, just some of that corrosion on there. So we will look to change that at some time or other. And then the other point for me, which I think I'm probably look to change coming up soon, is going to be that lower wishbone, just that bit of suspension arm there. Obviously we looked at it when we pulled it out the other week when we did the shock, or when we did the spring rather. But yeah, I just think it's letting the whole thing down really. So we've got the bushes on there which might need changing in some stage or other soon as well, so maybe we'll look to just buy a brand new whole wishbone, change that whole thing out as well at the same time. We've got to do these front roll bar bushes as well, or anti-roll bar bushes rather. They were picked up on the MOT if you remember, so that's one of the really last things, apart from I think the front brakes, that we need to do. So accessing them is going to be quite tricky. It might be easy, obviously these bolts that we can see here where it comes through underneath, once we get this wishbone out the way, it might be easier to access them as well. So perhaps we can do these and those at the same time. So I think there's one last thing really to do, which is going to be get this wheel back on, get it dropped down, and then obviously we can have a look through and see how much nicer it looks. So looking through the gap now, we can see we've got that lovely nice sheen in there. It looks a whole lot better. So I'm really pleased with that. Perhaps, you know, maybe I could have cleaned the wheel or something like that, because that's really letting it down now when we just come back. But for the time being, you know, really pleased with that, really pleased with the way that's come together. If you've enjoyed it, or it's inspired you to give it a go, because it's just really simple, you know, there's no mechanics involved, it's just lifting up the car, taking the wheel off, and then just giving stuff a good clean. So if it's giving you the inspiration to give it a go, just get that looking really clean on the inside, so you know your lovely hot day, you want to clean the outside, you want to clean the inside, why not go that whole bit further as well and actually clean inside the inside. So for now, yeah, if you've enjoyed it, you know, give us a like down below. If you haven't already, give us a subscribe coming up here now. Really appreciate your time watching it. Thanks very much, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.